What's up, everybody? My name is Jacob Hardison, and today let's talk about front pivot block tuning. So as you guys know, over the past couple weeks, we've been talking about our roll center tuning adjustments, very specifically on the rear end of the vehicle. So today we're going to swap back to the front end and we're going to talk about our pivot block tuning adjustments. So that being your A and your B block. And then next week we'll go ahead and we'll talk about our C and D block. Now, before I go ahead and swap views here for you guys, you're probably wondering why I have a 22 5.0 next to me. And I'll give more information at the very end of the video, but to give just a brief heads up, we are gonna be doing a giveaway on this guy on our website. So definitely make sure you stay till the end of the video. We'll give some information on this and somebody will go ahead and win this guy. So to jump to today's topic, of course, like I said, we'll go ahead, swap our camera views. I'll get you a more up close view of the front end. And then I also have a hinge pin and some pills I can use as another visual reference. So we'll get that set up and we'll talk about those pivot blocks. All right, so I've got us moved around here, and today, instead of taking a look at the car, I've got this paper set up with, of course, the tower and the ground. That way I have a reference of height, and then F for front, which is the A block, R for rear, which is the B block of your pivot on the front of your vehicle. So we're gonna talk about a couple different things here. We're gonna talk about height first and then kick up. That way I can do all of that on this sheet of paper here. And then I will swap to the car and try and get a little bit better visual of adjusting the actual width of your front pivot. So to start out here, as you can see, I've got the hinge pin in what would be the low position, which is gonna be closer to the ground. And what this is gonna do for you is it is going to lower your roll center, which is going to increase your front traction and increase your steering. And another way you can kind of think about that is that because the pin itself is lower, the car, the chassis of it is raised up to some extent. And when you do that, it has more room to roll, which puts more weight on those outside tires, which then will result in that little bit more steering feel. Now, if you go ahead and raise the pill, oh, I got Sharpie all over my finger, closer to the tower, so you're kind of lowering everything around it, but the pill itself, the pin, is gonna be closer to the tower. That is gonna be a higher roll center because the pin is higher. And what that is gonna do is it's gonna have less front grip. And because it can't roll as much, depending on the grip level of the track you're driving on, it might not feel as in the track. Now, also, like we were talking about last week with changing the hub height positions, there are some changes you can make to go along with this, which is to adjust your camber link accordingly on the tower, or if you have a pill ball car, it'll be your upper arm. So if you lower the front pill, in theory, you are going to basically widen the gap between your lower arm and your upper arm, your upper link. So to have the same camber link geometry, when you do either of these, you would move the camber link in unison with your adjustment. That way, that geometry will stay the same. So to give a quick recap, since we're already looking at it in the high position, it's gonna be a higher roll center, less front grip, not as in the track, the car isn't gonna roll as much. And then as we move this down towards the ground, that is going to lower the roll center, which is going to increase our front traction and increase our steering. Now, swapping gears, while we're still in this view, we'll go ahead and we will talk about our front kick-up. So if we want to have more kick-up, our pin is going to look more like that, where it's lower in the back, higher in the front. What that is going to do for you, having more kick-up, the car is going to be a little bit more reactive off throttle, but you'll also notice that you're going to have a little more weight transfer to the rear under acceleration. It's going to be a little bit better on bumps because that front of the arm kind of isn't going to really dig in as much. And it is going to also increase your caster, meaning it's going to have a smoother on power feel. So as you adjust your front kick up, you already, if you look at your chassis, you'll see that your chassis already has a little bit of kick up built into it. If you keep adding that kick up, which is going to keep adding caster, you get that smoother on power feel. And then, like I said, it's gonna be better on a bumpy track. It's gonna be a little bit less reactive over it, gonna keep the car kind of more up and out of the bumps rather than down and in the track. So to counter now our front kick up as we take the kick up out of it, so let's say we're going to do something like that. So your front is lower than your back. You have a little bit less weight transfer in comparison, especially on power. You're going to notice that you might have a little bit less off-power steering, but I feel like that going around the track, it usually feels a bit more touchy overall, a bit more reactive. So in my opinion, I feel like this is going to be better on something like a tighter, smooth track. Smooth being important because just like I was saying, when you add kick up, adding kick up is better on the bumps. When you take that kick up out, it is going to not feel as good on the bumps. You're taking caster out of it. It's going to overall kind of feel a little bit more touchy, reactive around the track. So to go over our kick up again really quick, with it in the less kick up position, you've got less weight transfer, so you're gonna feel like it's a little bit more touchy, and especially that on power feel. It's not as good in the bumps. It's gonna be better on a smoother, tight track. Then swapping to adding kick up, it'll be a little bit more reactive on the off throttle end of things. You're gonna have more weight transfer to the rear, so it's gonna feel more stable. You're gonna feel like you have more grip. It's better on the bumps, keeps the front end out of the front of the track. That way it doesn't catch as much, and it's gonna have a smoother on power feel because you are increasing your caster in the vehicle. So now that we've discussed our height and kick up, which is really the two to discuss using this paper, that way you get that good visual, I'll go ahead, bring the car back over, and then we'll discuss the width of the front arms. All right, so now that we've got the car in front of us and we can actually see our A block, we can go ahead and talk about our width. Now, this won't be as good of a visual representation because I won't be able to physically show you the arm moving in and out, but I figured this is better than nothing. So to start out, there's gonna be a couple different options. So you can see where my pill is right now. That is going to be in the center line. So that would be considered a standard pivot. As you move your pill closer to the inside here, closer to this TLR logo in my case, that is going to be a narrow pivot. And then as you come out wider, you go further away from this TLR logo, that is going to be a wide pivot. So to start out here, we'll talk about the wide pivot. So moving this pill closer to the outside, extending our overall track width of the vehicle in the front. You're gonna have less roll because it is a wider car now. So it's gonna be a little bit less reactive, and there's gonna be less weight transfer side to side. And also because it is wider, I believe that that is also going to mean that you're going to have a little bit less weight transfer to the back. But the most important thing here is that the wider pivot is going to take grip away from the front end. So it's gonna feel more stable, it's gonna feel less reactive, it's gonna feel less touchy. It's gonna be easier to drive around the track, assuming that you don't need the extra steering. It's gonna feel more understeery, in my opinion. Now, as we come from our wide pivot and we shorten our narrow pivot, we narrow up the pivot. I don't know why I said it like that, but we're moving those pills in, we're squishing everything. You are definitely gonna notice that, especially under braking, you're going to have more weight transfer to the front of the vehicle. Because everything is pinched in, your roll point is gonna be moved in, so it's gonna wanna roll a little bit more from side to side. So it's going to become a more reactive setup, gonna be a little bit more twitchy. So that is gonna be something that, maybe like we were talking about before with the smooth, tight track versus like a larger, wider open track. On that smoother, tight track, having that narrow pivot is going to be more beneficial because it's going to get weight on the front end more, it's gonna roll more, so you're gonna have more overall steering. So again, as you go to a wider pivot, you're gonna have less roll, less weight transfer, less grip. So that's gonna be more on a high grip surface that you don't need the steering, you already have a ton, you're trying to make the car feel more consistent around the track. And then going to a narrow pivot, so tightening everything up, you're going to have more roll, it's gonna be more reactive, and you're gonna have more weight transfer under braking and side to side. So it's gonna be better on tighter tracks or maybe lower grip tracks where you need to get the front end to be a little bit more pointy in comparison. Then of course, there is always the middle, which is gonna be a standard pivot. That's gonna be kind of the best of both worlds. It's not gonna be too wide to where it doesn't roll, but not so narrow to where it rolls a ton. So it kind of gives you a good middle ground to where you don't have a super aggressive car one way or the other. So now we've talked about our tuning options, we'll switch everything back around and we're gonna discuss our giveaway. So for the first time ever in our YouTube channel history, we are going to do our first ever giveaway, this time being the Team Losi Racing 22 5.0 DC. Now it's gonna be very easy to get in on this, and all you're gonna have to do is down in the description below, we're gonna have a link to our website, which is going to take you to a page to buy tickets. It's gonna be $5 a ticket, and once we sell 50 tickets, we'll go ahead, I'll make another video of all the names inside of a spin wheel of some sort, some name generator, and then we'll find out who, of course, is going to take home this buggy. So there's no requirements of you have to subscribe, you have to like, you have to comment. It is as simple as going to the website, you can buy as many tickets as you want for $5, and then once we sell at least 50 of them, we're gonna go ahead, we'll pull a name, and we'll let everybody know who wins. There's no limit on buying tickets. If you wanna buy 25 tickets, you're more than welcome to buy 25 tickets. It is however many you wanna buy, but it is $5. And like I said, as soon as we get 50 tickets sold, then we will go ahead and do the live drawing for this vehicle. So good luck to you. And of course, thank you for joining us today for our tuning video, and we'll see you guys next week.